Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us in this panel with this esteemed panelist. Now we're going to change a little bit the subject, and we're going to continue this amazing discussion about electric transportation. But now we're going to delve into not the two dimension of the ground. We're going to talk about the third dimension, which is air transportation. So first of all, we're going to make an introduction of all the panelists, and we will delve deep dive into the conversation. So about myself, I'm Gema Ferrero. I'm the managing director of NextNorth. NextNorth is a technology-based short-distance aviation company that aims to connect people and places using technology. And we are preparing also the future of transportation and evolving to what are called eVTOLs, which are the electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And we will talk a little bit more about those later in the conversation.
Thank you, Gema. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm Walid Meskine, a science engineer with a master's degree in robotics and AI, unmanned aviation professional, co-founder of two drone companies, Africa Flying and Engineering in Tunisia, and Envodro in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and drone consulting with Twaiq for drones company. We'll try to share some insights about unmanned aviation and related to AV vehicles and air mobility. Thank you so much.
Hi, pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. My name is Yvonne Winter. I am COO and co-founder of FlyNow Aviation. And as we go through two slides afterwards, I would just continue and then come back to FlyNow Aviation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with you today. I'm Shimaa Al-Quradaghi, Director of Qatar Transportation and Traffic Safety Center. It's a research center under the College of Engineering at Qatar University. It's mainly about researches in transportation, logistics, traffic safety, and sustainability. We will talk mainly today about our subject, and we will tackle it also from the safety and sustainability aspects.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be here alongside with all these experts in their fields. My name is Saleh Nisf. Worked as an air traffic controller for 10 years. I'm working with the safety of aviation currently. And also, I'm the head of integrated management system. I'm wishing a fruitful discussion for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Saleh, I think you wanted to make a quick presentation. So if you want now, we can
Sure.
Deep dive into it.
Yes, thank you, Gema. So, we're talking about the Qatar Civil Aviation Authority as it is the regulatory body in the state of Qatar for overseeing all aviation activities in the aviation sector. So as we know, the Civil Aviation Authority has a vision, and that vision, as you can read it here, it's a very dynamic term. When we say vision, it's not only for the civil aviation, it's for any other entity. A vision must be dynamic. It must adapt to any changes in the future. So in order to achieve the vision, we have some set of missions. I'm not going into much details, but you can extract some vital information from these missions. For example, create an institution recognized internally and externally, participate in the development of aviation policies, and then keep up with the changes in different fields. So these missions have to be also taken into consideration for moving forward actually achieving the vision. This clicker is not working for some reason. Mhm. It's not. So this is the strategy we are following now to achieve our vision using the missions. Our strategy is using the annual and periodic plans because these plans will teach us what is the way or the best way to achieve our goals that we set throughout the year. So when we are talking about annual and periodic, we mean yearly or maybe every 5 years or even monthly plans. And those plans, of course, should be in accordance with the Qatar Vision 2030. And the most important thing, and I was discussing this with Yvonne and Gema and Walid before this discussion, the interaction between human and equipment. This is very important term in any kind of fields. It's not only in aviation. Due to the fact that the interaction of human and equipment or machine would lead to a perfect combination by both. So if we have, let's say, the latest advance in any technology with the equipment, but we don't have the interaction or the integration between human and equipment, then there is it's useless to have this equipment, and vice versa with the human interaction as well. So this is some of the technologies we are using in aviation now. The Doha Flight Information Region. For some of you, this is a strange term, Doha Flight Information Region. It is basically the area of responsibility for all ATC, air traffic controllers working in aviation, where they control the traffic of descending, climbing, controlling of speed, and vectoring the traffic climbing out of Doha or descending to land in Doha. We have the Air Traffic Control Center, which includes the Air Traffic Control Tower, and we have also the radar room, the approach room, which takes the traffic from further away from the neighboring FIRs, from the neighboring flight information region, and transfer the traffic from and to this area of responsibilities. The radars recently, with His Excellency, the Minister of Transportation, we have established 2 radars in Doha, one called the L-band, which is the long-range radar, and the S-band, which is the medium-range radar, also to cover all the traffic and gives you indication of any traffic entering Doha or leaving Doha. The virtual tower, also another technology that is included in the aviation sector, which is, let's say, it's something called reducing the amount of, or the money spent on building a new tower entirely and putting just machines, screens, monitors to view the traffic without spending a lot of money on structures. So this is the virtual tower. It gives you a 360 degrees visual covering all the blind spots in any airport. And last but not least, the air traffic flow management. This was also introduced before the World Cup. It controls the traffic out and into Doha in a very effective and timely manner. So of course, I cannot end the presentation without talking about Qatar Airways, one of the best airlines in the world, winning so many awards. And my last slide, it says, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So if you don't have a plan, then you don't have a way or milestones to reach your goal. And if you have a plan and you still failed, at least you know where to start when you start again. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Perfect handover.
Thank you, Saleh.
Can I get the clicker? Thank you so much. Well done. Yeah, FlyNow Aviation. What do? We are a company based in Austria, founded in 2019, and developed a modular e-copter family. E-copter because it's more or less an electric helicopter, and it differs a lot from the configuration of most of our competitors. As we have only 2 rotor blades, we are not considered to be a drone, but more a helicopter. That's why we can rely on existing regulations like CSVLR and CS27, which enables us a fast track to certification. And we already got, end of 2022, the first certification milestone in specific category Sail 2. So we tested last year our 1-to-1 prototypes at Salzburg Airport. And everything that we have learned from the testings, we implemented in the new design, what you see here. It's a family consisting of the cargo version, which is capable to transport 200 kilogram in the size of a Euro pallet, because it's the most common size in logistics. And then we go for a single and a twin-seater for 1 passenger and 2 passengers. Why is that? Because when you observe it, in 9 out of 10 cars, it's only sitting 1 person in it. When you want to go to work or when you commute, then usually you order a taxi for yourself or for you and your partner, but you don't want to wait till 3 other guests are joining you. We have a range of 50 kilometer, speed up to 130 kilometer cruise speed, and can go 30 minutes flight time, plus, of course, extra for security reasons. We are the most silent device out there with only 55 dBA and an altitude of 150 meters. That's more or less the sound level of a dishwasher. So when you compare it to the background noise of a city, which is an average 60 to 65 dB, you won't even hear it when it flies above you. We partnered up from the very beginning with tier 1 suppliers from the automotive industry that has the capability to really scale up very fast. And on the other hand, have the permit to do aero parts. This enables us to follow an automated approach and an approach that really goes into mass production for the first time ever. Before we had a presentation, we heard about Ford Model T, and this enables the implementation of the automobile. Now, 100 years later, we are on the edge of a new technology, and we consider ourselves to be the enabler because we are affordable and available for the broad public by being cost effective. We are quite aware that for the implementation of these new devices, it's quite vital to have the whole ecosystem in place. That's why we founded with other companies together the Sky Alliance for Automated Air Mobility. It consists of partner companies from air traffic management, insurance companies, infrastructure, vertiports, because in order to have these vehicles on a broad scale in a confined airspace, you have to have a system in charge that enables a scalable, safe, and highly automated way. But I think we come to this later, and I don't want to keep too much of your time now, and hand over to you.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Saleh. So as we can see, we can see with our eyes first what an eVTOL looks like, and also the transition from the traditional aviation to what the next step in aviation is going to be, which is urban and advanced air mobility. How we are going to move goods and people within the cities and within short distance or regional areas. So first of all, to give a quick overview of what urban and advanced air mobility is, I would like to have the first question for you, Walid. What would you define as urban and advanced air mobility, and what are the benefits compared to ground transportation?
Yeah, thank you, Gema, for the question. Air mobility, as my perspective, it's switching from the 2D navigation to the 3D navigation. So, and it brings a lot of benefits. Offshore, we discussed and see a lot of electrical van and road vehicles that will save a lot of gas emission and fuel consumption, but the traffic delay and traffic congestion still there. Noting that population will be more than double by 2050. So I think the third dimension of navigation and using aircrafts or unmanned aircrafts for ensuring urban mobility will be a must. A good solution right now, but it will be a must in a few years or less than 1 decade, I think.
Thank you. I think that eventually it can be summarized that we are going to help to construct something that is sustainable, but we're also going to help reducing the time in mobility compared to ground transportation. And it's also important to highlight the fact that there are areas where we can also help connecting, like getting better accessibility. For example, if you want to connect islands, there's no ground transportation there. So we can offer, with this mobility solution, an alternative that can help connect areas that are difficult to access or where ground transportation cannot be even cost efficient. So now talking about this aircraft, Yvonne, what different configurations, like multicopter, tailwind, are currently developed for advanced air mobility, and how these vehicles are tested, certified, and last, what strategy is there for implementation in this new airspace, which is often called the low altitude?
Thank you. That's a very, very good question. So when we look at all the developments in the eVTOL sector, which is electric vertical takeoff and landings, then we observe different configuration types, be it a multicopter, be it tilt wing, be it vans, tilt vans, etc. The interesting thing is when we look at all these developments and when we look in history, then we found during the Cold War there were 45 developments of vertical takeoff and landings because the governments feared that they have no landing space anymore, so they developed vertical takeoffs. From these 45 developments, only 4 made it into a military application. And for instance, the Osprey, it took them 15 years to get the certification, even it was just for military applications. What was the problem of all these vertical takeoff and landings? More or less, it's about the frequency and it's about the eigenmodes of the moving parts. So you can imagine when you have this tilt wings and when you have different moving parts, then you have frequencies, and when you accelerate these propellers, impellers, whatever it is, and these frequencies of the different propellers interfere with each other, then you create an issue that the parts literally choke apart. And when we observe the configurations that are built currently, then we can refer often to the configurations that failed 50 years already, with the only distinction that now it's electrified, which adds another problem, which is efficiency and which is the energy capacity and energy density of the energy carrier, which is now battery electric. So this is a major issue from the technical side, and on the other hand, we have the issue about the certification side, because the certification rules for vertical takeoff and landings are currently under development, and no airplane or no eVTOL has been certified so far under this category. And it's very hard for the air authorities to come up with the regulation because it's an unknown field and with a lot of uncertainties. So this is the second part. And the third part is then the implementation of these vehicles, which is as well a major issue for all the government bodies and air authorities, because there is no blueprint for it. So we have different problems that we need to tackle in this issue, from the regulation part, from the technical part, and for the implementation.
Thank you, Yvonne. Talking about the regulation, Saleh, maybe you can give some light on this. What are the legal and regulatory dynamics in the application of air mobility in a city such as Doha?
Yes, thank you, Hema. Now, Doha, as many other cities and states, it has its own, let's say, chart where all the dangerous areas, prohibited areas, restricted areas are depicted. And we are using these charts now for the operation of any drone activity. So whenever someone wants to operate a drone in a certain area over the city of Doha or over the state of Qatar, there is some kind of procedure he has to follow, starting from filing the application of the drone, the specification of the drone, the way, the dimensions, even the manufacturer, and the reason of flying, whether it's recreational or commercial use. Now for legal, of course, security clearance has to be obtained. And then after the security clearance, there is the operational clearance, which is given by the Civil Aviation Authority after finalizing the security clearance. For the regulation, of course, we don't have a reference worldwide to depend on. So the Civil Aviation Authority has to come with its own regulations to regulate this. As we can see now, the drones and the UAVs is expanding, and it is increasing rapidly in the aviation sector. So we need to come up with some kind of rules and regulations to regulate everything and to try to keep it as safe as possible and to accommodate the request of the drones operators. Because as we know now, the drone operators, they are not just for recreational purposes, there is commercial purposes, and there is also security purposes. So there is a camera attached to it, and there are sensors, and of course, in addition to that, in Doha, we have added also the geofencing feature, which prevents the drone to fly over some restricted areas where it is dangerous for the drone to be flying there. In the beginning, I remember in the 2017, late 2017, we had so many complaints as an air traffic controllers. We had so many complaints from the pilot of drones flying nearby or in the vicinity of the aircraft. And that was a big issue for us because we don't know how to regulate this. And we don't know where is this drone flying from. Now we have the anti-drones. We have many things to tackle these issues. So I think in cities as Doha, we have very good and robust regulation and rules for tackling all these issues regarding the drones.
Thank you, Saleh. Talking about anti-drones, one question for you, Walid. What are the safety procedures and anti-drone systems in order to seamlessly integrate unmanned aviation into non-segregated airspace with manned aviation?
Yeah, that's I think the biggest challenge. And continuing with Saleh, regarding the anti-drone system, there is two types. One, internal anti-drone system that's built in the drone itself. It's like a geofencing system that avoid drone from flying in a restricted area. And the other is external anti-drone system. It could be implemented in airports or in sensitive areas to prohibit and avoid drone to enter in this area. And also drone manufacturers are required to implement internal anti-drone system in their drones unless they couldn't sell their drones over the world. That's was the FAA regulation and EASA, European Aviation Safety Agency, and over almost Civil Aviation Authority in the world. But I want to congratulate the local Qatari Civil Aviation Authority for organizing the successful World Cup using drones and integrating all these drones and with the manned aviation seamlessly without incident. And that's a milestone that could push forward to implement this unmanned aviation with the manned aviation in the same non-segregated airspace seamlessly and safely.
Thank you. So now I wanted to talk about the integration of this within cities, and later on, talking about Doha. So first, generally speaking, Yvonne, the question is like, in FlyNow, you're developing designing and manufacturing eVTOLs. So what do you see are going to be the main challenges to tackle in the integration of this within a city or a region? Generally speaking, main challenges.
Yeah, thank you for raising this question, and thank you, Saleh, for highlighting the issue that there has to be a certain procedure in order to have a safe implementation. And what you just said, the problem is that the regulations are nowhere out there, so you have to define it. And the same thing applies for the implementation of our e-copter, because so far you have now the sets and rules for the smaller drones and the procedure. And then for the large vehicles, for the helicopter, for the regular aviation, there is air traffic control. But in between this space, when it comes to civilian, to firefighter drones, to heavy lifting drones, to automatic flying passenger eVTOLs, we have the issue that this is an undefined, so to say, regulation space. And in order to later on have an implementation of all the different kinds of vehicles, we have to define a system that serves a high form of ubiquity, so to say, which allows the implementation of small drones, large drones, of piloted eVTOLs, of automatic flying vehicles. So imagine you have a mall, and at that mall you want to send medicine with small drones, and at the same time you want to enable air taxis to land on the roof. Then you share the same airspace. And when you then imagine a couple of years later and you have thousands of these vehicles in a confined airspace, you have to have a system that controls all of that. And from our perspective, this is only feasible if everything is under the roof of air traffic control, which is basically the government, the air authorities, so that they observe and have the predefined routes of every vehicle in advance, approve the flight, and then observe it. And by that way, we ensure that only the government is in charge of their airspace. It's about national security. It's about, we are talking about an urban air operations over a civil field. And this is very, very vital that we have a safe system and a system where every vehicle is tracked and every vehicle can be controlled.
Thank you. Well, one of the things that we have learned, and even more all of us that we are in the transportation industry, is how important it is not to work in silos, but to create a full network of transportation, whether it is connecting traditional aviation with the taxis, the railway, etc., etc. So it is really, really important that we don't define a strategy just about urban air mobility, just thinking about this, not thinking about how to connect this with the rest of the pieces. So now I wanted to ask Dr. Shimaa, what do you think that should be the steps to integrate urban and advanced air mobility within the current means of transportation in Qatar? Because I know that everybody wants to say, okay, what in Qatar? So what could we do? What do you think should be the steps? And also thinking about not urban air mobility as a standalone piece, but thinking about the whole picture, which is the complex thing what we all would like to see.
Sure, thank you, dear. Actually, I believe that Qatar National Vision 2030 paved the way already for having a great infrastructure for transportation in general. Especially in the last years, e-mobility increased, and last 2 years, when you see in World FIFA Cup, that mainly all the transportation was electric buses. with مواصلات. So this is something really increased the awareness of using e-mobility, and having this said, from the ground transportation to air transportation, how can we do this move? Again, it's an ecosystem, and it's integrated system. It consists of the government, the people, and the private sectors. All together, all these three aspects, if they work together, which they are actually, it will be really great achievement for the people. So some steps or key steps that can be helping and integrating the air mobility, having the feasibility study. Can we really have it in Qatar? This also something else. Also, we can implement the risk assessment. See if we have these drones, if we have these eVTOLs, what are the risks for having them in the area? And thanks for Mr. Saleh, also the regulation and the framework from civil authority, it's really important to have the framework tailored exactly for Qatar needs and requirements. So once these sets, I guess it will be just having the people themselves involved in it and having the experience, because at the end, who's the user? Who's the end user? It's the people. So if we want really to make the people buying this concepts, we need to involve them, have them in the experience. And we were talking about it with Yvonne, that having this, even if it's virtual, it's really enhancing their experience until they're really seeing it everywhere, until they are recognizing that this is something that can be implemented. And making sure that it's safe, it's very important, because again, a human being, we always like to have whatever we have, but in safe way. So safety is first for everything. Having this additional mode of transport, I guess it's really innovative, it's really great. It just needs more maybe study, research to make it really have a robust fundamental for the people to use it at the future. And I will just end up with this one, that many years ago, we just saw it in movies, that we have vehicle e-cars, right, or flying cars. But now science fiction's becoming science facts these days. So thanks for the technology. And that's it for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Indeed, the movie Blade Runner already showed us their taxis. Now they can become a reality, thanks to companies like FlyNow, and thanks to everybody in the stakeholder system, regulators, companies and institutions that are just working towards this vision. So it's no longer something of a movie, but something that can actually be a reality. But I totally agree with what you mentioned, that the public and the people have to be involved since the beginning, and even gathering ideas and the sensations about the people that eventually are going to be using it is essential. So I think that we are pretty ahead of our time, so maybe we should just go straight into the questions from the public. Somebody wants to ask us something?
Thank you very much indeed for a very informative presentation. This morning I had the pleasure to discuss the issue of laws, regulation, guidelines with Ms. Winter. At the moment, as all of us we know, is that there is the GCC railway project, and which goes into the 7 countries. Now, one of the challenges, which I will put the question to you all, is what we are doing about unifying guidelines, procedures, laws through various stages of a project, which is design, operation, maintenance, and this question is a challenge for us in the Ministry of Transport. But again, probably the best people to be involved and think about it is Dr. Shimaa, as she's an academic and she's a local, and also Mr. Saleh, plus the cooperation of the professional people on a national level. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Any thoughts? Dr. Shimaa, you want to add something? Yvonne? Walid?
First of all, thank you so much for raising this question, and it's very vital to come up with a certain procedure, and so that everyone knows what to do and where and how and who, and actually right now this is not in place. First of all, we have to consider that we are right now on the edge to implement a completely new means of transport. And it's not only a new means of transport, it's an entire new economy. It's called the low altitude economy, with multiple stakeholders, and from the private side, from the government side, from the regulatory side. And what is very vital that we all come together and we align on the vision to implement a safe system that serves the public issues. We are here to serve the nations, to serve the people, and that's why we need to come together to define it together and to work on that. And there is, as mentioned, different perspectives. First of all, it's the certification of the vehicle, then it's the implementation, then it's as well the spare parts management, the operation part, the vertiports. There are so much different angles that needs to be tackled and that needs to be defined, and there will be different parts in different countries. So, for instance, what altitude are you flying in? This is, even in Europe, when we look at Italy, it's completely different than Germany or Austria. And there will be changes in different countries, but the overall approach should be aligned. And this is definitely our task that we all need to work on together.
Thank you, dear. I would just add that it's really a good point that you raised, that there should be a framework again for this new transport mode, and having also the academia involved in research and figuring out what are really the positive side of it. You know, it's economy-wise it's good, also environmentally-wise it's good. So having this side-to-side industry and academia, I guess it's the best way to solve this issue and have it crystal clear for everybody that this is really important, or this is really having such and such. So all the GCC companies, as you mentioned, that can have one regularity and one framework that can follow.
Just to continue with that, the good thing in the aviation field that is highly standardized under the International Civil Aviation Organization over the world. And right now, ICAO is making some think tanks groups and providing some guidelines and documentation for implementing unmanned aviation in the non-segregated airspace. And the highest safety level reached by civil aviation, which actually reach near zero fatal accidents per million flights. And they now ask from the unmanned aviation professional to reach that level to be seamlessly integrated in the urban mobility and our daily lives, which is very, very promising due to the very standardized, as I said, documentation, regulation, and also the airspace classification is mostly standard in all the countries. So, which will make it easier to implement unmanned aviation with manned aviation seamlessly.
One thing I want to add is that here there are different things that you need to tackle. And most of the topics normally are about technical aspects. But eventually what moves this is the people, the demand. Are people going to take this? Do they need this? And in this regard, things are being developed in different ways in different countries because they have different realities. So it is also, in my opinion, a nonsense to create a monster of regulation, a monster of technical aspects without first taking into account, okay, what is what the people need? Do they need to move from here to here flying, or nobody's going to take this? So I think that that component of what is going to be the demand, what is what the people are going to need, people or just the companies that move goods, it's also something that has to be taken from the beginning. In our case, for example, in NextNorth, what we are doing is like start tackling the demand. We are trying to simulate what's going to happen in the future with eVTOLs, but we are taking little steps. And these little steps are creating routes with helicopters, because helicopters are what are more similar to the future eVTOLs. So upon that, you start getting data, how people react to this. Are they eager to fly? They like to fly? Maybe in these areas of the city, they think that there's going to be too much noise. So how we're going to tackle this challenge? And on that, we need to share this knowledge with the rest of the persons of the ecosystem. But from my standpoint, I think that, of course, QCAA, in the case of Qatar, and organizations like the one Dr. Shimaa works for, have to be also taking like a leadership role and orchestrate all the pieces. But let's not forget about the people and the demand, because most of the times, and I've seen this for the last years, everybody's like just talking about the technical aspects of the eVTOL, the batteries and so on, but that's not the whole ecosystem. You need to look into what's going to be the entire ecosystem, and even taking into account these integrations with other means of transport. So the picture is bigger than what it looks like.
I fully agree with you, and here comes into place what Shimaa said, that we need to educate the people as well. What we, for instance, did at COP28 is that we had our e-copter there. People could sit in there and have a virtual flight. So this enables them the feeling of how this can be done. And on the other hand, we have a step-by-step approach. So we will start with the cargo version first. And when we had a couple of 100,000 flights with cargo, then we move into transporting people. And as well what you said, with helicopters first. So it's a step-by-step approach. And when we take the people with us, and when we sparkle their eyes because they already saw it and they feel it, at least virtually, then we slowly, bridge the gap.
Thank you. Did we respond to your question? Yes, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a question related to the end of life of such products. When we introduce a new product, a car or a plane, there are some responsibilities when it comes to the dismantling, reuse, etc. So here we are mainly focusing on the beginning of life and the middle of life, designing solutions and using them, manufacturing them, but how about the end of life? Are there any regulations or policies related to the end of life? Mainly, to responsibilities of the eVTOLs makers, for example.
Yeah, very good question and very important. And from the very beginning, we focused on how to recycle every part of the vehicle. And for instance, for the battery, we have partner companies for a second use. So you have a certain time to be overhauled in the aviation. And therefore, the batteries cannot be used for a very long time. And after that, we give it to another company. We develop the battery management system together so that they can implement it in their use afterwards. And yes, there are regulations, for instance, for the battery, that you as a producer are responsible to take care what is happening with the battery after you used it. And of course, this needs to be taken into account. And this is one major part of the sustainable issue, of course. Thank you.
with full appreciation. I have some few questions. I would start with Ms. Gema. Is the advancement of the technology imposing itself that we are very much engaged about it, even if it is not ready from legal point of view, from technical point of view, from publicity point of view, from finance point of view? We are talking about it where it is really not ready, although we cut some few years in these issues. Is it imposing itself on us? This is for Mr. Gema. For Miss Yvonne, the helicopter, the product, is it in commercial use net? Did you try it? And is it efficient? Is it efficient enough? And you have given some very critical issue that the airspace could be occupied with small and large drones. It means that it will be open for everybody, where you cannot enlarge the airspace. How will you solve that problem? For Ms. Shimaa, do you have labs in cooperation with higher authorities where you provide the visibility study, the reports, the experiments, where we can come to some final achievement where you can make up a decision? Is there a cooperation between your section? Do you have labs between you and the high authorities? Brother Saleh, what is the anti-drones? And do we really need it with these all restrictions, legal restrictions, and with the size of our market? Do we really need this technology to be implemented in our side? Thank you.
Excuse me, could you repeat my question, please?
Your question is the technology, the advancement of the technology imposing itself that we should use it? We are very much engaged about it now, although it is not ready. From technical point of view, it is not ready. From finance point of view, it is not ready. From security legalities, it is not ready. We need to, we have to, we hope to, Nothing ready. Thank you.
The technology, broadly speaking.
Well, we are talking about drones. You know, major axis in this point is the benefit of the humans. So are we going to get a comfortable aspects of their life? Are we going to give them technology? Are we going to make added value by providing this technology for them, for the humans, for us? Clear?
We can respond together also.
Yeah, the super engineer, he will respond. Maybe.
Yeah, so well, technology speaking, the technologies behind this are many.
Is it enforcing itself on us?
Enforcing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it is enforcing on people, but it's true that as I see this, the potential benefits of this are enormous. That it's something enforced, I don't think so. That's my personal opinion. It's true that the business models, talking about the financial part, are something that have to be still studied for some cases. The technology is ready. I think it's ready, or is 90% ready. But this is like a very broad question. I'm sorry, because like you also can think of eVTOLs that are manned versus eVTOLs that are unmanned, which is like one step farther. I think that most of the people now are not even aware of what this technology is. I think that we have a big task related to communicating, to educate the market about how this is going to work, what are the potential benefits about this. But I think that the technology is evolving and it's getting implemented step by step, and this is how it should be done. For example, FAA in the US, they mentioned that the best way to tackle this, the implementation of this urban air mobility industry is relying on what we already have now. What we do have now, we have heliports, we have helicopters, we have traditional regulations regarding aviation. So we should build upon that, start getting data from many aspects, technical data, people data, and start using them to improve the system and improve the plan and the strategic. But I'm not sure if I'm answering your question.
Clever answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother, for this question. Please allow me to add something for this. When talking about unmanned aviation, there is two types. One of the cargo transportation or transportation of goods and passenger transportation. For the first part of cargo transportation, I think it's imposing itself because as a fact, zip lines in Africa has transported 9 million healthcare items. And that solves a lot of lives. Also, Ferrero Group, I think, in the US, that made the around the world as flying with 33,000 kilometers without incident, bringing some healthcare products. Also, there is a pilot project in Al-Hajj in this year in Saudi Arabia, inshallah, that will serve 2 million Hajj with healthcare items using drones, because in crowded area there is it's impossible to move with cars, and for emergency use case the drones are perfect. For the other side, for the passenger transportation, if the people like to try it, it will be imposed, because it's right now it's luxurious transportation. And maybe later on, if it's reach a certain level of reliability and safety, it will be seamlessly requested from people to use it. And if we ask how much or who is able or like to try a taxi drone next day, I think most of them will do.
Thank you. I think it's very easy. Only if we come up with a system that is more safe, that is cheaper, that is easier to use, that serves the people's needs, only then we will be able to implement the system. And therefore, this is a prerequisite. And we focus on implementing a system that is affordable and available for the broad public, and as well gives some advantage when it comes to implementation for the logistics by having a highly automated system which allows automatic charging, automatic loading and unloading with a partner company that does robot forklifters and automatic flying, so that we can seamlessly integrate it into an existing logistic chain. And if we create value for mobility, and if we create value for the people, then we can implement it on a broad scale. If this is not the case, the whole thing will not fly. It's simple as it is. And mobility is closely linked to economic growth. There is no economic growth without mobility. And in many cases, we reach the capacity. And look at many big cities. You just have to look at Dubai or at Riyadh. Riyadh, they currently have 9 million inhabitants. They want to grow to 15 million. They already have a major congestion issue. And you can only solve that by taking some of the traffic out of the ground into the sky. And yes, your other question was, do we then have congestion in the sky, so to say? No, we won't. Because imagine, for instance, when our e-copter is flying in an altitude of 150 meters, it is the size of a bird, more or less. So no, you will not recognize it. But when you take a certain amount of vehicles out from the ground into the sky, then you have not only the advantage for the person who is sitting in the e-copter, but as well for the people on the ground, so that the traffic starts to flow again. And this eases as well the noise emission and the pollution.
All right, thank you for the question, raising that question, really important, regarding if we have labs tackling this issue. Right now, in Qatar University at the center of Qatar Transportation and Traffic Safety Center, we do have 3 labs: the virtual reality lab, the crash sled lab for testing car seats and crashes, and also the driving simulator. We are also expecting 2 more to come, which are the e-scooter and also the motorcycle. As this is a new mode of transportation, of course, we are having this in mind as well, but right now we don't have it. However, we have a lot of studies done by our esteemed faculty member regarding the autonomous vehicle, regarding sustainability of them, regarding the safety, either the autonomous vehicle or e-mobility. And from this also expanding to the e-VTOL, which takes some time until also people can accept the idea. So yes, we can be hand in hand having this with other authority as well. And one more thing also in College of Engineering, they do have a lab for drones, and students actually, they build drones by themselves. Yep.
Thank you, Shimaa, and thank you, brother, for your question. Now, in the beginning of my presentation, I said that there is a very dynamic term in the vision. With this dynamic, it means that we have to change with the variables. Now, if we consider this drone activity or drone operation as a new variable to the airspace or to the aviation sector, we have to adapt and we have to accommodate it. And for that specific reason, the state of Qatar has proposed officially to the ICAO to increase the capacity of the airspace, to increase the size of the airspace. And in March 2022, we have obtained that. Now we have unlimited airspace over the state of Qatar, which can accommodate plenty of type of traffic, whether it's a UAV, drone, commercial aircraft, helicopters, and we are dealing with them. The fact that we have so many limitations and restrictions area over the country, it is not a valid reason for us to say we don't accept this type of operation, for example, or this type of operation. We have to accommodate all the requests, and we have to use the technology that is in our hand right now, because we are improving and enhancing the airspace with adding these advanced technologies. So the technology, without utilizing it, it is useless. So once we have the technology and we have the human to use it, then we can accommodate all these requests, I believe. Thank you.